So the last few weeks, we've been covering topics like interest rates, inflation, and banks. So this week, we're going to cover a slightly random topic that's been hitting the headlines, nickel. Nickel has become one of the most expensive industrial commodities, and with that has come some unusual activity. I'm joined by Baylee this week, who's going to talk us through why nickel has been hitting the headlines.
So last week, nickel hit the headlines because $1.3 million worth of nickel, it was stored at a secure warehouse with the London Metal Exchange. It was actually found just to be a bag of rocks. And it's not the first time that we've seen these headline grabbing stories in nickel markets. There was another fraud where a nickel delivery was replaced with a much cheaper metal, and it was estimated to have defrauded the client out of over $500 million.
And why are we seeing this sort of fraudulent activity with nickel?
Okay, so going back to last year, nickel prices increased by 130% in March, and they've come down a bit, but they're still higher than the levels that we saw at the end of 2021. Often when you see something increase in value materially, it attracts that kind of fraudulent behavior. And nickel is an industrial metal as opposed to a precious metal like gold and platinum. So it's subject to less oversight than what you see with precious metals. But overall, these cases really aren't new. There are historic cases of investors receiving spray painted rocks. And in fact, the first known written complaint was from over 3,000 years ago. And it was about a copper deal that went wrong.
So scandals and bad commodities deals obviously aren't something new. But if we just go back to the basics, what is nickel and what is it used for?
Sure. Well, nickel is used in lots of different products. We're talking stainless steel, coins, and batteries, for example. And batteries is quite an important one. And it's one of the key reasons as to why nickel is being seen as the commodity of the future. It's increasingly important to the production of batteries for powering electric vehicles, for example, which obviously really helps to alleviate the world's reliance on fossil fuels.
And so what is the outlook for nickel and I guess more broadly for the commodities markets in general?
The nickel market is over $20 billion in size, which is still smaller than the copper market, which is about 10 times the size of that. But nickel demand is expected to grow substantially due to the higher demand for electric vehicles and other climate-friendly solutions. But commodities markets are really interesting to watch because they give an indication towards economic sentiment. In general, when markets are doing well, cyclical metals like copper and nickel tend to outperform. But when markets aren't doing so well, we tend to see precious metals like gold outperform.
So this one we'll obviously keep an eye on, no doubt, alongside inflation and banks. But thank you for that, Baylee. And thanks to our viewers for joining us this week. Please join us again next week for another episode.